What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some Ace of Base. That's right, we're going to start going through another group. I'd like to start by giving a major shout out to friend and champion of the channel, Adam. He's made Cloud available to me with like a ridiculous amount of music, and not only is there a ridiculous amount of music, but there's a number of artists and groups that have not come my way via other champions of the channel, so it just expands what we're going to be doing, the amount of deep dives and the amount of musical journeys we're going to be going on. And in that regard, as I said, we're going to start going through Ace of Base. Their like big hits definitely, I think, took the international music world by storm in the early 90s. I certainly remember hearing a few of them. We're going to listen to a version of All That She Wants, but I also remember The Sign and Don't Turn Around being like really big hits, you know, being played on the radio all the time. So yeah, ultimately I enjoyed the tunes. It's not a group that for whatever reason in the early 90s to mid 90s that I ever decided to go on a deep dive with. Now again, you know, personal context, I was getting into punk rock at this time and starting to like listen to reggae and go to hip hop shows, and then by the time you get to late 96, suddenly I'm getting into techno. So like there were so many things going on in my music life that there were some like pop groups that I encountered that I enjoyed their sound, but I just never went down the complete like journey. And there's some other one I'm just thinking of now, like a very different group, and I'm thinking of the Cranberries. I enjoyed their music enough that I bought that first album where they're like sitting on or like around a couch. I forget the name of it in the moment, but then like I never followed them after that. So there are a lot of 90s groups where like I was interested, but because I was doing so much in the sort of like underground musical circles, I just never ended up pursuing it. So I feel like I can make up for that now. And indeed, Adam mentioned that, you know, not just the hits that everybody remembers, but they have some other good tunes. So I'm looking forward to it. But we are going to start with one that I know. And there's kind of a reason I'm going to do this first. We're going to listen to All That She Wants, and it's actually a 12-inch version, so I imagine it's expanded. I noticed it's over 6 minutes long when I queued it up. I think that's definitely longer than the radio edit of the version I remember. So yeah, but I also have a hard tech, which is like a specific term within the world of electronic music and, you know, techno specifically. But we'll talk more about that one. But I do have a hard tech remix or like cover of this track, and I'm gonna react to that one after this. So whatever, let's start with the original one. I remember this song insofar as I remember the Sonics. Again, it had all three of the tunes that I really remember well have these like really engaging sort of electronic but kind of mysterious Sonics. The Sign is a bit more like, let's say, uplifting or like euphoric in the Sonics, but Don't Turn Around in this one, I think they have a sort of like, I don't want to say danger, but they have a like mystery slash potential danger, I guess. It feels like there's, you know, something to lose, like there's trouble afoot. So I like the sort of character of the Sonics, and again, it has kind of an electronic sound. It's like, you know, 90s synth pop. And yeah, I don't know what happened with the group. I don't, you know, as far as I know, they have not continued into the present day. I feel like after their initial span, maybe there was a point a few years after that where they went separate ways, because like I said, I haven't really heard anything new. But again, that's basically, you know, my ignorance. They may very well have continued, and it just, you know, wasn't as in the public eye as much, and that's why I didn't catch it. So in any case, yeah, we're going to listen to the 12-inch version of All That She Wants. For those new here, when I react to a track, if it's a tune I know, I'll just talk about the lyrics for a minute or two, and, you know, not in any authoritative way, just saying like, here's the way the words have hit me, here's the way I sort of take them. And if I haven't heard a tune before, I'll usually just speculate about the title for a minute or two, like, okay, it suggests this to me, it suggests that, it could be related to this. I just sort of, you know, get my brain working so that if I hear lines that perhaps relate to one or two of the ideas I had in advance, that I can quickly sort of, okay, it is kind of going that direction. So in this case, it's sort of in between. I know the tune, I remember the tune, but I don't remember like each and every line. I certainly remember the chorus, and I remember like having a conversation with a friend of mine when we were, you know, like 14 or whatever. And if you're new here, I was born in 1980, so I'm in my early 40s. So the early 90s, I was in my like pre-teen slash like early teen years. And I remember having a discussion where I was saying like, all that she wants is another baby. Like, I'm taking baby to mean like a term of affection, so it's like, it's about a hot body that she kind of wants to have an experience with, but then she's out the door. She doesn't want any complications. She doesn't want to be tied down or whatever. And my friend was saying like, no, like it's clearly like she wants to get pregnant, and so she wants like a guy to fulfill that role, and then that's it, and then, you know, she's going to take off, and, you know, he doesn't get to be part of the kid's life. And I was like, I don't know. So basically, even, you know, back in the day, I was never quite sure what the song was about, but for me it felt more like about she wants intimacy, she just doesn't want any, you know, anything tying her down, any balls and chains, so to speak. So yeah, let me know if you have a different take on that. Let me know if, you know, there's like, they made a definitive statement about it. Sometimes when I've reacted to tunes that I know a little bit, I'll make a comment that, you know, maybe it's about this, and someone like, actually they gave an interview and this is what they said about it. So if you do know, let me, or fill us in the comments. Either way, let's get to it. This is the 12-inch version of All That She Wants by Ace of Base. I feel like this is already like
she leads a lonely life.
A little extra at the beginning there. Maybe I'm wrong.
She leads a lonely life. All that she wants is another baby. All that she wants is another baby.
I love that.
When she woke up late in the morning,
Yeah, it's like the no bass line here. I feel like this isn't in the radio version like this. It's like a stripped down intro.
It's a day for catching time, just lying on the beach and having fun. She's going to get you. All that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, boy.
I wasn't remembering though that like
Is another baby.
it's like keyboard dub.
All that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, boy. All that she wants is another baby.
And I like it does that like dead pause, gets really quiet as it rolls into the next measure. I remember this.
So if you are inside and the day is right, she's the hunter, you're the fox. The gentle voice that talks to you won't talk forever. It is not compassion.
Very true.
When the morning rings goodbye, beware of what is flashing in her eyes. She's going to get ya. All that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, boy. All that she wants is another baby. All that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, boy. All that she wants is another baby. Baby, yeah.
The way that backing vocal just kind of came out of the shadows and took over. It was great. Oh yeah. Wasn't thinking about this either until right as it started.
She's going to get ya. All that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, boy. All
Again,
that
I
she
feel like
wants
this is different
is
from the radio
another
version.
baby.
The single version.
All that she wants
Oh.
is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, boy. All that she wants is another baby.
Kind of inward and muffled, and then like opens up again.
All that she
Like a
wants,
simmering tension.
all that she wants,
Oh, this is great.
all that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, boy. All that she wants, all that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, boy. All that she wants
back.
She's gone tomorrow, but all that she wants is another baby.
Side note, the kick drum, which I noticed right away, feels very forceful. I don't know if it's identical to the one in the single version or the album version, but has some oomph to it. Sorry, it was on loop. It's a FLAC in the VLC player that I have. I had it set to loop. Nevertheless, yeah, that's incredible. You know, most of the first 3.5 minutes of the tune felt very close to the track I remember, you know, hearing on the radio again and again. It was very popular. There were a couple moments, including the very beginning, where it felt like, you know, a little more austere for like maybe one bar or like, you know, one measure longer. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the intro was identical to the studio version. But then there was like a moment, a minute or two in, where it got to like the next verse, and it felt like the verses felt like stripped of the bass line, which I don't remember that being the case in the, you know, the radio edit. Either way, once we got to the final like 3 minutes of the tune, that obviously went in a much like more distinct direction, and, you know, did things that I don't remember the studio version doing at all. So yeah, really cool. And I'd be curious to know if someone is aware who did that remix. I know sometimes like groups remix material themselves, but often when it's called like a 12-inch remix, as I've come to understand, you know, as I've been deep diving on a lot of groups from like the 80s and, you know, into the 90s, excuse me, but yeah, I've come to realize that a lot of the 12-inch mixes are like done by other producers, like other remixers. So yeah, I'd be curious to know if someone is aware of who did this one. And yeah, let me know what you think about the tune. You know, I can't imagine there's too many people who never heard the original. Like they were so big in the early 90s. I do remember them being everywhere. So, but yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the original. Let me know if you thought this was superior. I did, in the sense that, like, you know, it only makes sense to like think about it that way in the context of knowing the original. But yeah, I do think this, like, it went beyond the already great track that the single or album version was. So anyway, let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.